episode 3 of Project Brommieloff, you saw me attach this magnesium NOV design chain tensioner to my project bike. If you remember, I attached it with a specially designed nut, which is the only custom part on my Brommieloff Brompton project. I really like NOV design tensioners, and I happen to have a magnesium one and an aluminum one, and I decided to make a review video about them. These are fine parts that I enjoy buying and using, but I want to be clear that I'm not sponsored by NOV Design, I'm not paid by NOV Design, and this is not a promotional video. This is a video by a person who likes their product. I do have an aluminum and a magnesium chain tensioner. I'm planning to put the magnesium one on my Project Brommieloff Brompton, and my aluminum chain tensioner will probably go on my Project Brommieloff Brompton, which will be a Brompton made out of leftover parts from Project Brommieloff. It's complicated terminology. So original Brompton chain tensioner weighs 140 grams. Aesthetically leaves a lot to be desired as a fine bicycle part. Also quite thick in this dimension, and of course it's all plastic and there's a lot of play here. So not the most perfect part of the Brompton, although from the engineering standpoint the concept is beautiful. It's of course something that guides the chain, so it has some of the functions of the derailleur. The other functions of the derailleur, of course, performed by the chain pusher, and of course it stretches the chain. So the concept is brilliant. The execution in plastic is of course not super elegant. So this brings me to NOV design. So this is the magnesium one, a fine piece of engineering and execution. It's either 90 or 88 grams depending on when I weigh it. The spring is visible, so there's potential that dirt will accumulate there. But these are of course lightning holes, and the wheels, the jockey wheels, are the same as on the aluminum chain tensioner. Magnesium weighs 1/3 less than aluminum, at least the structural magnesium alloys. But I can see here that these parts were separately engineered, as there are differences between them. So the Brompton original, magnesium and aluminum from NOV Design. So these are the two NOV Design tensioners. They're different. I suspect they were designed to optimize the qualities of the metals that they're made of. As I said, some of these structural magnesium alloys are 1/3 lighter than aluminum, but this is not 1/3 lighter. It uses the same jockey wheels, and in some areas it has more metal. So you can see right here that in this area here, the magnesium NOV design tensioner, and this is the magnesium NOV design tensioner, is wider than the aluminum one. So this section here is 7.4 millimeters wide on the magnesium one, and this one is 5 millimeters wide on the aluminum one. So NOV Design specifically designed these components likely to deal with the strength issues and structural issues of different metals they use. So that's of course something to be admiring of, rather than simply trying to manufacture a magnesium part using aluminum drawings. There's another difference. the aluminum tensioner has this screw, a small screw that's used as a limit, as a stopper to this articulation. The magnesium chain tensioner has a piece of plastic here in this position, a black piece of plastic that's glued into a lightning hole. The same shape hole is present on the aluminum tensioner, but next to the hole there is additional material and then a drilling where the screw goes. The magnesium tensioner does not have this additional material in this area and does not have the screw, but instead a piece of plastic is glued in. So designed differently and executed differently. So the magnesium tensioner is of course quite fine and very, very expensive. So this is certainly a luxury item. You can look this up on the NOV Design website, but there's about extra $100 US that the magnesium one costs over the aluminum one, which is of course not cheap all by itself. The other difference is that not only this section is thicker, but this spring housing is thicker as well. It's less than 10 millimeters on the aluminum one, and it's somewhere around 12.5 millimeters on the magnesium one. So magnesium chain tensioner from NOV Design is very light, 90 grams. It costs a lot of money to go from 110, I don't remember, it's either 110 or 114, I think maybe 110 grams that the aluminum one weighs. So the aluminum one saves about 30 grams from the Brompton original one. The magnesium one saves close to 50 grams, and it's a fine piece of engineering and execution. The finish, the deburring and the softening of the edges and lack of machining marks is also finer on the magnesium tensioner. But the aluminum one is quite good. And I should also mention, I don't have it here, but NOV also manufactures a plastic tensioner, which is much more affordable, which looks like the aluminum tensioner, but is made out of plastic. But these are fine parts. Aesthetically, quite an improvement over this. This is wobbly, and while the design in principle is brilliant, the execution of the design with these wobbly plastic parts is imperfect. NOV wheels, although they spin on their barrels, there is also a bearing inside. You can see the steel race of the bearing, and the jockey wheel turns separately on that bearing. I'm not sure in real life where the spin occurs because both rotate quite easily. I'll try to watch it. So if you can afford this hyper expensive luxury item, the magnesium chain tensioner, it's a beautiful thing. If you can afford the very expensive luxury item, aluminum chain tensioner, it's quite a fine piece as well. And the plastic chain tensioner from NOV, although I've never touched it, looks in pictures like an aesthetic brother of the aluminum one, and will certainly provide enhanced appearance over the Brompton original part.